Adeptus Ridiculous Podcast. My name is DK Diamantes, his name is Bricky, and golly, what could we be doing today? Find out after I tell you about Patreon! If you enjoyed today's episode of the podcast and you want to maybe support the podcast, head over to patreon.com/Adeptus Ridiculous, where you can get access to the Discord, bloopers if they happen. $15 tier gets you access to all of our crispy posters in HD digital format. What's that, Shy? New poster? I have no idea what it could be about. Why don't you show us?
Please be tasteful, please be tasteful, please be tasteful, please be tasteful, please be tasteful.
Very tasteful. Look at that. So tasteful.
That's tasteful. That's okay. Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. I like that.
That's
I like that.
Cute. You got the meme going. You got the wall hand meme thing. All right. Okay, I can work with that one.
Yeah, look at the love in the eyes.
What a cute. All right. We can work. I can work with that.
Where could we get this heartwarming poster?
You know, you can get it at orchidate.com. Link in the description. Check it out, everybody. Buy yourself some fantastic merchandise, including all kinds of great other things like hoodies, shirts, dice, mats, and so on. Yay.
Those floral prints?
Floral print.
Floral print merch stuff are very good. You can't see it in the picture, but it's like this really cool, like metallic, shiny fabric,
it's got like a sheen
stuff.
To it.
Oh, it's great and very soft.
Not biased at all.
Well, okay, little biased, but the print is so sick.
Anyway, yes, check it all out. Go give it a look-see. We got Detective Ridiculous coming out later this week, but we also probably are going to be doing the book club for Da Big Daka next week as well.
Ooh, so you can finally start it?
Well, yeah, exactly. So I get it done, and then the last
fresh
week,
in the mind, yeah.
Fresh in the mind, yeah, exactly. You get it. Mm-hmm. It should be good stuff. So yeah, check it all out, chat. Orchidate.com, link in the description. Check out the new poster and also good stuff. Thousand Suns players. I'm going to say I in this one because it was my idea and not the rest. I sincerely apologize for derailing your episode last week due to current events going on in the world. That is the reason why it was like an hour and a half long, hopefully to make up for a little bit of that lost time. But today we are full stop, dead center, K-Suns.
Yeah, I forgive you. As a Thousand Suns fan and as the representative of the Thousand Suns, I forgive you, Bricky. I forgive you.
I feel like if the Thousand Sun players out there still had flesh, they would be like turning in their suits of armor with that statement.
There's a little dust bunnies are floating around in the armor, and they're just turning over and over. Yeah,
I can't imagine. Like as the speaker of the Thousand Suns, DK Diamantes, how dare you? How dare you?
I speak for the Suns.
You speak for the Suns.
I speak for the Suns. I am a son.
Oh my God. So Thousand Suns. Let's go. I mean, I would give you a quote, but be.
If you were going to give me a quote and I didn't know what today's episode would be, what quote would you give me? Or do you not have one? Just straight up.
I just didn't look one up for this one.
Okay, that's fine. I was going to say, do it anyway, because why not? They're fun. But yeah, if you don't have one, let's move along.
But so we ended last episode basically with the end of the Horus Heresy. Magnus has received full demon Primarch mode. The Crimson King is very, very big.
Nipple horns, yep.
Nipple horns. I thoroughly appreciate the top comment of our most recent episode, which is Magnus did nothing wrong. He was told to do nothing, and he did it wrong.
All right. Yeah, that's fair. I like it. I like it. Who give that man a shout out, because that is, yep.
It may have been a joke reiterated from someone else, but it was very, very funny regardless.
So accurate. I will now be saying Magnus did nothing wrong, and when anybody asks me how can I believe that, I am going to I'm gonna steal that joke.
Good. All right. Good. I'm glad I can help with a little bit of that.
I have gaffed it.
Gaffed?
Yeah, that's not.
Right.
I don't know. That was like a high school thing for like stealing. It was like, oh, I'm gonna gaff your soda.
I know, like gaffing tape.
Oh yeah, there is gaffer tape, isn't there?
Yeah, a gaffer tape. That's fine. So after, of course, the whole shenanigans with the Siege of Terra and everything, good old Magnus gets himself, blapped by Vulcan after a decent fight. Horus dies. Maybe dies. I don't know what they're doing with the end of the death at this point, but
death to the corpse emperor.
Death to the corpse emperor. Good stuff. The classic stuff. So after this, Ahriman and folks and friends all, of course, leave and flee from the ensuing Imperial legions trying to get them.
Okay. Makes sense. They're heretics. Yep.
Of course, the City of Light has moved to the Planet of Sorcerers in the Eye of Terror. Terror. Sorry, not Terra.
Terror. Yeah.
Terror. The Planet of Sorcerers, also known as Sortiarius. Sortiarius? Whatever word.
Yeah,
it's a demon world. It's where Tzeentch snagged all of the stuff after Magnus decided to go ahead and swear their fealty and then put it all here on the demon world. Big, ever-changing sorcerer world deep in the Eye of Terror.
Right. That's the planet that Tzeentch specifically had made ready to go because he was like, oh yeah, this guy's turning.
Yeah, he's prepped. Mm-hmm. So now, because they've spent as much time in the Eye of Terror at this point, and as time goes on, the flesh change mutation of the Thousand Sons is getting worse. Because obviously it's getting very, very bad, and the amount of warp shenanigans that occur in the Eye of Terror are also very, very bad.
Yeah. So it would probably amplify it pretty hard. No, so when the flesh change happens, do you just become like a mindless chaos spawn essentially?
That's
I was going to say
result. That's the end result of it. Flesh change starts off with small changes.
Yeah, so it's not like when you become a chaos demon, you keep your senses. You just become a raving monster.
Yeah, you eventually will flesh change into a chaos spawn, which is just an absolute abomination.
Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Rogue Trader recently. I know.
It's like the first boss, isn't it?
Yeah, but then also if you use too much warp shenanigans, you can accidentally spawn like 4 of them.
Yeah, I've had that happen. It's not great.
Yeah, or a bloodletter. That's not great either.
Yeah. Or one of those. That's true. Shy's got a good picture there. That's pretty metal, I'm not gonna lie.
Oh my god!
Yeah. I mean, so the Chaos Spawn we know of is like the archetypical one with the mouth and the tentacles and things. Yeah. Honest to God, a Chaos Spawn can be whatever.
Yeah, because it's warp. Yeah, well, the only reason I ask is because I was like, well, if they're in the warp and they're heretical, who cares if you look like a mutated monster? You're a heretic. But it's like, oh, if you become a mindless that, then yeah, you might, your buddies might care. So yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's whatever any of the gods really just want you to become. It's not like being a demon, which has a little bit more of like a specific form. Well, sometimes, unless you're Tzeentch.
You just become a weird mass of flesh that's just erupting on itself.
But, good old flesh change is not very fun. And so Mr. Ahriman himself, arch sorcerer of the Thousand Sons, went ahead to go attempt his own way to deal with this.
Uh-huh.
Now, you may know this special part of the Thousand Sons lore as the rubric. One might know it as the rubric of Ahriman as well.
Interesting. Aren't they called rubric space marines?
Rubric marines, in fact. Wild, yeah?
Now, to be fair, I don't know exactly how this story goes. I know the end result, and I know the gist of it, but I don't know all the creamy... why did I say creamy details?
Certainly not the dusty details.
Yeah, the very dry details. Yeah, go ahead.
So the rubric of Ahriman... Basically, it was a special power that was glimpsed from Magnus the Red's book, the Book of Magnus, or just like the rubric. with the flesh change getting as bad as it was, things were as problematic as they were reaching. They need to figure out how to utilize this sorceress spell. Sorceress spell. It's a mouthful.
That's a mouthful. That is alliteration at its best.
Thank you. To find a cure. A cure for a permanent cure for the flesh change. So when he got this spell, he attempted to utilize it and use the power of his sorcerer's power to cast the spell, but he simply was not powerful enough. He was not strong enough whatsoever. And right now, Ahriman and Magnus are like not getting along for the most part.
I thought it wasn't until after this that they didn't get along. Even before they were just like, I tolerate you, but you.
They're not. They don't really believe Magnus has done a particularly good job at saving their legion, especially at this point, which is ironic considering Magnus is like the one who gives a shit the most. But at this
he's the
point
only
in
reason
time,
they're even alive at all.
Right, but at this point in time, like with Demon Primarch Magnus, a very hateful and spiteful Magnus. There's a lot less like, I'm not going to go to Dad to help me with this. I'm going to do it myself, and he couldn't. So instead, he gathered a cabal of sorcerers, this massive group of sorcerers on the planet of sorcerers to do this sorceress spell and begin manifesting the rubric in this massive, like storm of power. And it was like planet-wide kind of stuff. This hurricanes of like multicolored clouds, demons in this area ran away. Because this sorcery was one of those ones that could like permanently snuff them out.
Oh, this is permanent demon snuffing sorcery. So this is no joke.
True death.
And it's making like tornadoes of this stuff?
It's a giant like maelstrom of psychic energies. And as this maelstrom was like swirling and swirling as it was, lightning would begin launching from the maelstrom and striking various Thousand Sons members. Now, doing so, the change that occurred depended on what kind of member of the Thousand Sons you were. For example, we joke about like everyone is dust in Thousand Sons. Not actually fully true.
Oh, really?
No, it is a majority of them, but it is not everybody. The ones of less psychic might, the ones that were more succumbed to the flesh change, and those that did not have as much psychic power were zapped, and their entire body evaporated directly into dust. Just completely all of their flesh into dust. But the psychic shock also permanently like smoldered, like that's not welded, I guess in a sense, but like made their armor. I don't know. It's like coffinized it. Like it welded their armor shut in a way.
Yeah. So even if they were alive, you can't get out of the armor.
Right. It completely sealed every joint of the power armor and burned their bodies into ash. But it sealed it in this weird psychic way, so their soul, the dead soul of their body, could not escape either. It's stuck inside the armor with the ash of their body.
Yeah.
So it's not just like, their corporeal form is like, it's also like the soul, because souls are real in 40K, is trapped in there.
Mm-hmm. They can't get to the warp, can't do anything like that. You are stuck in your power armor forever. It's cool armor, though. Like, if you got to be stuck in a suit of armor for, all of eternity, it's a dope armor.
I mean, it's not dope to paint. Anyway.
You need dope to paint it.
But this happened to about 90% of the Legion. A massive majority of the one were zapped and turned into dust. But those, along with Ahriman, as doing the rubric of Ahriman, those of very high sorceress power, were zapped, but not disintegrated, but instead had their powers greatly enhanced.
Right,
became
the sorcerers, right?
The sorcerers, the exalted sorcerers, had their powers massively buffed up instead. And
right,
so
the disco riders.
The disc. Oh, the ones on the discs, right?
Yep, the disco
Ahriman
riders.
included.
Yep, Ahriman's got the big disc.
Now, unfortunately, Magnus didn't actually really like this a whole lot.
I bet.
He got to feel every single one of these bolts of change on his body and soul. And so he wasn't able to stop this at the time because it kind of disabled him in a way with the overwhelming amount of psychic sensation.
Ouch. Jeez, that's gotta suck when you feel 95% of the sons that you love so much, and he felt all of their just psychic anguish.
Classic Magnus. I mean, Sanguinius had the effect on his sons, when he died.
Oh yeah, he got reverse sanguinius.
There's a little bit of his son's suffering was imprinted on him as opposed to the opposite.
Ouch.
But eventually, Ahriman couldn't stop it, and so once Magnus was able to get his senses, he was kind of able to wrestle away the control of the rubric itself.
Yeah.
But Shai's correct. They're kind of they're kind of reverse Necron. Because from now on, after this is done, right after the rubric or the rubric of Ahriman has been completed, Ahriman at the time was massive success. I see this as a massive success. Because he's I've done it. I have made it so that the flesh change is completely eradicated. They are protected and safe in their armor, and the loss of their physical bodies is a totally fine price to pay.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that Ahriman thought he had been a complete success. Was he coping? Was this or did he actually believe it?
At the time, he totally believed it.
Oh man, how do you see this as a victory? You have you cured the flesh change? Technically, sure, but I don't know how you see this as a win. I think you might rather just be looking for a different way to study the flesh change because you have damned your whole chapter except for the sorcerers.
Listen,
That's not a win. That's not the win you think it is.
Listen, if you had back pain and then I shot you in the leg, you would not be feeling much more back pain.
That's true. I'd be feeling a lot of leg pain.
Mm-hmm. That is you want me to give you something for all that pain?
Yeah. It's was
that Major Pain? I think it was Major Pain, that movie.
It's like the anti-joke. A guy's in a horrible accident. He wakes up in the doctor's office. Doctor, I can't feel my legs. And the doctor's like, I know. I amputated your arms. So
I've never heard that before. That's really funny.
It's just from I think it was from an old Game Grumps episode or something. That one always kind of stuck with me because it's wow, yeah, that's an anti-joke, all right.
That's funny.
Kind of the same idea where it's I can't feel my legs. Well, yeah, because you don't have to worry about the arm thing.
That's so funny. All right, I've never heard them before. I'm gonna steal that one and use it later.
You can't steal it, but you can gaft it if you want.
Ooh, we're bringing it back.
See?
Not bad.
So, Dean came.
Off a cliff. So Ahriman at the moment, seems to have believed that he did, a pretty good job with this. He stopped the flesh change. They're still around. They just, they lost their physical body, but who cares about a physical body when it comes to the whims of the lords of change,
Yeah, true. I'm sure Tzeentch thought it was hilarious.
So Magnus was, can you guess how he felt?
Pissed.
He was
that boy
mad.
must have been he was not Magnus anymore. He was Madgnus, right?
All right, that was shit. -2.
Oh, that was a +80. Get out of here.
Yeah, -2, honest to God.
All right.
Yeah, honest to God. So Magnus, being as pissed off as he was, went to go, to put it in technical terms, beat the shit out of him. But unfortunately for him, Tzeentch had different plans.
Oh, was Tzeentch so happy with the chaos that he was like, no, you're not touching my boy. I like this guy. Don't do anything to him.
Yeah, Magnus like stared down at Ahriman, ready to just absolutely blow him to bits. And Ahriman, you know what? I'll give him a little Giga Chat moment here. He just said, "I succeeded where you failed, Magnus." So I'm like, all right. But yeah, before he was about to kill Ahriman, Tzeentch decided to intercede a little bit, and he said specifically, "Magnus, would you smash my pawns so readily?" So Tzeentch did not much like to have Ahriman killed in this situation. Probably because Ahriman, much like Kharn the Betrayer, is going to be one of the gods' famed and favorites.
Yep.
So instead, he went ahead and exiled Ahriman along with his cabal. He said, you know, he basically told him to fuck off and avoid causing any like issues in future plans.
I gotta be honest, like that is being able to stare down Magnus, big as he is, intimidating as he is, and just be like, I succeeded where you failed, is like, there's gotta be a level above Giga Chad, because that's crazy.
It's like ironic Giga Chad, though.
A little bit, because he really did fail miserably, and only ended up the only success was him buffing himself and his cabal. Right? Like, that's the only thing that really succeeded there.
Well, he stopped the flesh change, I guess.
But you kind of made it like a million times worse.
It depends on your definition of worse. Ahriman is a person that we can have like a dedicated episode for, because Ahriman,
for sure.
I think he has like a whole trilogy over him, or at least like a couple books, and like
I know he has at least one.
Yeah, same thing with like Dante. Like Dante has a whole bunch of books and things.
I'm also kind of curious, like, so if Magnus had been the one with the rubric at the time and he was doing this spell, would he have been able to, like, because obviously superior psyker, superior sorcerer, would he have actually been able to maybe, like, do it better and maybe actually get rid of the flesh change?
I don't think the point of the spell is to make it any better. I think they succeeded in the point of the spell.
Oh, so it was always the
that
point of the spell was to, like, grind your body to dust, but your soul is protected forever? That was the point?
I think you're looking at it a little too literally when it comes to Tzeentchian sorcery. It is the spell to fix the flesh change. What that entailed, what happened.
Oh, they didn't know what the spell was gonna do?
Well, they did, but you're not. It's a monkey paw. You're thinking too literally with this whole thing. It's like, all right,
sorry. Well, see, I thought the rubric was like a book, and they were like, oh yes. So once I do this, it will do. Okay, gotcha. It's Tzeentch stuff, monkey paw. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
sorry.
It's the rubric of Ahriman the rubric is a spell, and it was in the Book of Magnus, and they did the spell to reverse the flesh change. It was a monkey paw situation for the most part.
Gotcha.
But at the same time, like, it's, you know, you can never know, because one, it's Tzeentch, and two, I don't know, like, at some point they might be doing it, and then Tzeentch is like, you know what? Let's make them all goats.
Yeah,
just because he thinks it's funny.
They're literally on a world that Tzeentch made in the warp. Like Shai said, Tzeentch probably meddled in the whole thing, regardless of how it was supposed to end up. He probably thought it'd be funny if he just was like, bloop. Monkey paw. Yeah.
So. He just did it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
He just did it.
That is a very Tzeentchian thing to do. Sure.
So, anywho, now that this has happened, Ahriman, you know, not to spend too much time on Ahriman, because I'm sure at some point he'll get an episode, is banished out, and exiled, and for the most part, his opinions have changed from the original thought process. Now he's kind of like, oh,
whoops,
maybe I did a whoopsie.
Yeah.
Right now, Ahriman, you know, his main goal is to get inside the Black Library. So he's constantly finding himself have issues against the Harlequins. I'm assuming, I know for the most part, most exalted sorcerers of the Thousand Sons' main goal is to become a demon prince. Is to pull away all of their corporeal form and become immortal. And, because pretty classic sorcerer stuff, right?
Sure.
Ahriman himself is definitely trying to get into the Black Library because it's supposed to be the repository of all knowledge. Most likely to, 1, make himself insanely powerful, and 2, possibly reverse the rubric.
Yeah, I was going to say, if his opinion has changed, surely he's looking for some way to, I should probably restore those guys that I turned to dust, because that was kind of a, whoops, my bad. Yeah, that sounds...
A whoopsie-poopsie, as they say.
Yeah, he did a little bit of the old fucky-wucky, as the kids say.
They do. The kids do say that, yes. Indeed.
Yeah.
So that's where Ahriman's off doing his own thing. As for what it is as a rubric marine, so a rubric... So it's interesting. So, right, not all of the Thousand Sons are dust. The regular rubric marines are dust, but especially if you look at your miniatures, the sergeant, the leader of a squad of rubric marines, as well as the terminators, the scarab occult terminators, they're both led by an exalted sorcerer, because a sorcerer still has their flesh, and they are the ones who lead the cast of rubric marines, a la Necrony style.
Makes sense. They're the most powerful. They still have their bodies. They still have their senses. Well, actually, how much sense does a rubric marine have? Their soul is still in there, but are they aware, or do they just become sort of robotish? I want to say, where they're just kind of drones, or how do they act now?
So, rubric marines are often referred to as soulless automata, which is ironic because they're not soulless. The soul is still there.
They are literally soul-filled.
Yes. They're often considered to be just total soulless automata when they move around and how they operate.
Yeah.
Not quite the case sometimes. I think this is also one of those ones where it depends on the writer. The writer is rather it depends on them. But for the most part, if they are on their own, not being commanded by a sorcerer, they basically just stand in place. They're literally immovable statues of power armor.
Yeah, once you said they were all moving around a la Necrons, I was like, oh, wait a minute, I guess they wouldn't be that aware, because everything that happened with turning them to dust would probably have some negative effects on you. Yeah, that sucks. So they're just little robo commandos for the sorcerer to pawn with.
When they're not being commanded. When they're not being commanded, they are just static statues of nothingness. But when they are commanded, they kind of regain a level of consciousness. There's actually an excerpt in the book, All is Dust, that's pretty cool. It's a excerpt on a rubric marine perceiving the world. So
that is cool.
It says here, this is the excerpt, it goes, "Only dust remains, dust and emptiness. I do not know what I am. I had a name, but it is gone. I am nothing. I am locked in darkness, tumbling without end through broken memories. I have a shape.
Whoa.
It is the shape like that of a man, but I am hollow. I am just the outline. I have hands, but cannot touch. I have no mouth, but I have been screaming since I began my fall. I want to breathe, but I cannot. I cannot remember what it is to breathe, only what it is to drown in an abyss, to sink without hitting the bottom. I had a name once, but it is an echo, fading but never vanishing, forever beyond hearing. Memories swirl in the darkness within my skin, rattling like sand against bronze. I watch the gray warrior burn, become ash, become dust. I know this should mean something, but in my memory there is only the emptiness that drowns all else. I am an outline held in a dream of falling, and this moment means nothing."
Whoa.
It's very much like Twice Dead King, kind of like.
I was about to say, that's I have no mouth, but I must scream, right? I was like, that's so Necron.
It's very panic attacky, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Who wrote that? That's such a good excerpt.
It is by John French. The book All is Dust. It's a short story. It's part of the Ahriman. Oh, it's part of the Ahriman omnibus. Yeah.
That's such a good.
It's very,
oh my
very good.
God, that's so, and it ties in all the dust like sand against bronze. Oh, that's a good line. That you put that at the front of your resume because that's a hit. Whew.
Yeah, and it's interesting because they talk because the character's name is Isidorus. And so they'll hear someone say, Helio Isidorus, the dream voice says once again. And then they're like, oh, I know that name. It's my name. I can see. The world is movement and fire and the roar of sounds. I'm standing on a plain of fire and melting snow. Besides me is a figure. He wears armor the blue of the desert sky, and his helm rises into a high crest of lapis and gold. Silk robes flutter around him, though there is no wind. Golden light glows from him, filling my eyes. He is more real than anything else I can see. It is his voice that called me from my sleep. I know this, but do not know why. He turns and points. I step forwards. So basically, it's like,
all right, an out-of-body experience.
I'm literally just a statue of nothingness, and then when I'm called upon, I'm back. But it's like a never-ending panic attack of what my old self used to be. But I'm also in war, so now I'm going to move and fight and shoot. And then once he's done talking to me, I go back to a dormant state. So they're not quite Necrons, where they're genuinely like just soulless robot machines, like the warrior caste, like the citizens.
Yeah.
But they're not quite nobles either.
Yeah, oof, man, it kind of sucks to be a rubric marine, don't it? Like, I knew it sucked, but man. Oh, Shai has a thing.
Ooh, yes, please share.
Here's the small thing about Rubric. Remember Yvraine, who resurrected robot Girly Man? She was once trapped in Tzeentch warp zone, and she called out to Ahriman, saying she had what he was seeking. She used her God of Eldar death powers to restore 12 Rubric Marines to their former selves. Shocked, Ahriman agreed to return Yvraine to real world. Oh.
And which makes a lot of sense, because, Yvraine has the whole, like, through death, we are reborn.
Mm-hmm. So there is a way out there to revert it, but you need like an Eldar god of death.
Oh, it's how Guilliman came back,
Oh, that's true. He did.
Guilliman came back,
and
because Guilliman came back because Guilliman was, it was through death, and they have their souls, and then they are reborn through the whole thing, which makes sense why the Thousand Sons might have to use that as an option. But you gonna go listen to the Eldar bitch? No way.
I thought Robot Girly Man got revived because he had a hot Eldar waifu that he just couldn't leave.
He realized life without Poon, and he was like, "No, bring me back,
worse than heresy."
It was great to call.
He realized life without Eldar Poon. What the fuck?
I'm sorry, I didn't know what else to say.
Yo, we need that Eldar taco, brother.
Oh god, Shorty, let me hit it. That gash sound like salmon roe.
Oh.
Anyway, this shit ain't nothing to me, man. Anywho,
Zoomer.
When it comes to the actual organization of the Rubric Marines, that is how it goes. And you see this on the tabletop. You have the aspiring sorcerer as the main, it's an aspiring sorcerer is the main, sergeant of the unit. Yeah. And then you have their Rubric Marines under their command. And in the game currently, if you would like to use special characters and leaders, you can have exalted sorcerers and things like that you attach to the unit and they lead them.
Yeah. I think I have an exalted sorcerer, but I am too scared to paint him.
I mean, he looks cool.
He does. He's got a little disco thing, and
Then you have Ahriman himself.
Yep. Also scared to paint.
Yeah. Are you going to paint him with the disc or not?
You have to. You don't have to. But I'm too scared to paint him.
I mean, he's cheaper to run on the battlefield if you don't have him on disc.
Really? The disc makes him cheaper?
No, the other way around.
Oh, okay.
It makes him go fast.
Yeah, well, as well it should. He is, Disco Inferno. Especially with all the fire, too, you know? Because there's all the fire around him. There's a disco inferno. Burn, baby, burn.
Burn, baby, burn. So that is also how it goes with the Scarab Occult Terminators as well. They also have a fancy, you know, aspiring sorcerer as their main person, and then the rest are all dust. But this has led the Thousand Sons to be in a bit of a weird spot when it comes to the overarching lore and world of Warhammer. Right now, in the current day and age, it's pretty darn hard to replenish the numbers of the Thousand Sons.
Yeah.
Like they might...
You can't.
You really can't much. Your gene stock is very limited, if not outright unusable. And then, you know, like you might bring in some new folks for like new sorcerers and other psychers, sometimes maybe from like different other Chaos Marine factions and bring them in to kind of do stuff. But you can't really make new rubrics.
And you don't really want to, because the rubric is now like, well, that failed, and I shouldn't have done that, and I should probably reverse it, so why would you want to even make more rubrics? I mean, thankfully, they are essentially immortal, so you probably very rarely need, quote-unquote, new rubric Marines, but yeah, you probably don't want to make new ones, do you?
Well, it's weird, because, like, I don't really know how they would even make new ones. I know when I was looking up Thousand Sons recruitment, specifically for this, a lot of it was, okay, when a Thousand Son, okay, well, a rubric Marine is very hard to kill.
I was about to ask how you do it, actually.
A Space Marine is hard to kill in general. Just naturally, but rubrics, like in the game, they have like a special invul save that Marines normally don't get because it's weird Tzeentch sorcery and like their armor will just reform and all that kind of jazz.
Pseudo immortal,
right. But in order, very often, if any of them do die, sometimes the sorcerers kind of like can take the soul and then later on like try to resurrect the Marine back up. Kind of build them back up, you know, cast mend or whatever. But, you know, it doesn't always work because sometimes you kill the sorcerer in battle and then things are really rough.
Yeah, I would imagine that's the real hard one to replenish. And the one you want to replenish is if like an exalted sorcerer dies, that's a problem. Because then it's like, well, nobody's giving the rubrics orders anymore. And, well, that whole platoon is just going to become statues.
I mean, so for example, the Exalted Sorcerer in-game has the ability Rebind Rubric, which is every command phase you can rebuild one of your guys from death. You can revive one.
Ooh, and that's kind of good.
Yeah, it's somewhat good. It depends on how... If the game is like really killy, they might just like kill your whole squad and it's like, well, there's nothing to revive anymore.
Yeah.
But it's one of the ways you're able to like use that kind of thing. You're able to just build them up. So like, yeah, you can rebuild them in that way. But, you know, sometimes like a losing or a lost battle for the Thousand Sons is really bad. It's a very rough time because you need, there's not many Thousand Sons out there. Shai, would you say that they're like the least prominent of all the Traitor Legions?
It's about 1,000 of them, I'd say.
There's more than 1,000 of them. There's like 10,000 of them.
No, there's like 1,000. There's
actually
thousands of the Sons.
There's actually like 9,000. I think they were all split into various thousand groups, and then one of them like got killed entirely. So it's like 9,000 total now. Something around there. There's like 9. It's all fancy words and difficult words and big words and words.
So do
I can't think of a Traitor Legion that has fewer numbers than the Thousand Sons. Like,
are they currently working with Abby at all and the Black Legion and all their stuff, or are they just kind of off on their own, just being like, look, we can't afford to be in big battles because we can't replenish our numbers, or because I don't remember seeing much about them in any of the Abby stuff. I know we've seen a little of Magnus post-Heresy, I think, but, like, what are they up to?
So, for the most part, Thousand Sons are much like Tzeentch BS. They kind of do their own thing. Thousand Sons are very much in their own worlds. They're where we talked about and read, of course, like the Night Lord books. They have all of their own various war bands that are kind of off doing their own thing. The Thousand Sons also have various war bands off doing their own thing, but the difference between them and, like, say, the Night Lords, where they basically just are there to survive and murder people for fun, the Thousand Sons are always some kind of scheming. They've got some plan, some kind of thing. Maybe they assassinate someone or they cause a world to heal. Whatever the reasoning might be, there's something that they're out there doing. And it's normally in the shadows or just they're not like they're no world eaters, you know. They're not just going out there and front and center murder, you know.
Right. They're in the shadows. They're doing the Tzeentchian thing. We're plotting. We've got. Do I look like a man with a plan? But so they're just off doing their own thing. They don't really care about Abaddon. They don't care about the Black Crusades. They don't care about the Eye of Terror. They don't care about the Cicatrix Maledictum. They're just doing weird Tzeentchian schemes.
But kind of. Well, no, not necessarily. It's like our Abaddon has tons of rubric marine or tons of Thousand Sons like that help him out because Abaddon is the leader of like chaos right now. He's the guy.
Okay.
But Thousand Sons definitely have their own agendas and schemes that they all go do, and their war bands often work from the shadows. They make a lot of use of more traditional troops and stuff. They have like a chaos imperial army, basically. You know, like, I mean, every chaos faction has like that kind of thing. They have cultists and stuff, but Thousand Sons cultists are, even though they're weird and things, they're maybe utilized a bit more because they need to. They need to. They don't have a ton of numbers, and replenishing the numbers are particularly hard.
Yeah, as we discussed. Yeah,
as we discussed. They're not world eaters. They're not just like running in, go to town. They're very methodical. They're very careful. They're very schemy. Very Tzeentchian.
They have to be, right?
They have to be, and so all of these various cults and other war bands are out doing God knows what. I mean, pick something, right?
Yeah, could be anything. It's Tzeentchian stuff. Like, who knows?
And here's a question. DK, do you know the number of Tzeentch?
I genuinely don't think I do. Immediately, the number 13 comes to mind. I'm not really sure why.
It's not 13.
It's gotta be some number of change, something. I don't know.
It's 9.
12 and a half. Oh, no. So close.
It's not even.
So close, man.
Okay. What's the number? What's the blessed number? What's the blessed number of Nurgle?
That's 7.
What's the number of Khorne?
Oh yeah, it is 7. 8.
What's the number of Slaanesh?
Don't remember. 7?
You just said 7.
Oh, I meant 6 because it's not.
Oh my God!
7, 6. Yeah.
What's the number of Nurgle? 7. Correct. What's the number of Slaanesh? 7.
7. Tzeentch got me. Okay, we've been talking.
9.
Tzeentch was like in my brain. You know, jeez.
Listen, the number of Slaanesh is 6, and what is a 6 upside down?
It's a 9.
69, exactly. About a
Hey. Yeah, I had a moment where it was like, DK, when the Q-tip goes in your head, you need to stop when you feel resistance, you know, just.
I know right now Shai is absolutely putting the picture on screen of you with like licking your face with like the drawing.
Yeah, probably, but I'm okay with that because that's actually really good art.
It's
like,
really good art.
Do I look stupid? Sure. It's also really good art though, and so I don't terribly mind.
It's really good art. Yeah. Anyway, so there are 9 cults of the Thousand Sons, like also specifically, which is really helpful for determining what kind of like there are various cults, like what they try to go for in their random schemes. Like, for example, the cult of change. They are against order. They're the unravelers. They launch their armies where reason exists. They like to make things into anarchy.
That makes sense.
There's like the cult of magic. It is pure sorcery. They go
what?
And
no.
Shut up. Let's shut up. Shut up.
The cult of magic is about sorcery. My God.
Eats poop.
Oh. Oh, my mind is blown! Go on.
They go to secure arcane objects and various other artifacts that are useful for using spells. Mm-hmm. There's the cult of manipulation, which is all about influence. Mr. Electric, kill this man. Cult of scheming, cult of time, cult of prophecy, cult of mutation, cult of knowledge, and the cult of duplicity. Yeah. Lots of various Tzeentchian cults, and they go off to do whatever they like. Because, again, most sorcerers' end goal is to become a demon prince. Because become
immortal.
Become immortal and do something so powerful that your patron saint God will love you forever.
It's crazy. It's a little ironic that their goal is to become like a demon prince, because the whole point of like the rubric thing was like, oh, to get rid of the flesh change. Oh, becoming a chaos spawn is bad. Oh, we want to keep our human forms. And it's like, you know what? Demon prince. Yeah. Ascend me, Chaos Daddy. I find that a little...
Ascend me, Chaos Daddy. Holy dudes.
I mean, that's what they're doing.
Holy.
What? It's what they're doing.
The debauchery occurring here.
But it's a little ironic that they're like so against... Well, I guess it's different, because Chaos Spawn, like we said, mindless, just... of flesh. Demon Prince, you've ascended to a higher form, you keep all your all your senses, and you become uber powerful immortal. So I guess it's not as ironic as I thought.
Sure. But anyhow, so the various cults of the Thousand Sons making their way out through the galaxy. They also make use of the Imperial Army, as I said, but also they use a lot of something known as the Tzaangors, also known as the model GW desperately wants you to buy.
Oh, and is that the little bird?
Little bird dudes. Yep, they're basically just they're beastmen, basically, but they're just Tzeentchian beastmen.
Yeah, I was genuinely, when you were talking about like the lightning that was hitting all of the rubric marines and it was sealing up the armor, and you were like, oh yeah, not every Thousand Sun became one. I was like, ooh, did like some of the lightning, was it like some Tzeentchian lightning, and the lesser powerful ones maybe became those beast men and they got reformed into just like these wow guys? I was like, that'd be such a cool way to introduce these guys that everybody's using. But then you never went there, and I was like, oh, they're just boring beast men, aren't they?
Yeah, they're just boring beastmen. GW puts so many of these in their damn combat patrols. They desperately want you to play Tzaangors. But they're honest. But maybe if they made their rules better, people would. But they don't. So no one does.
Yeah, I remember when I was buying my first Space Marine stuff, I was looking at the Start Collecting box for the Thousand Suns, and I was like, "What is with all these like blue dudes? Like, I just want the Thousand Suns. What are these blue things? What are these blue bird horned people? I don't want these. I want the cool rubrics." Yeah. So
and yet
here we are.
And yet. No, they're just basically beastmen that serve. They got a little bit of like better intellect, excuse me. But they serve out the Thousand Sun sorcerers. I would be remiss to not talk about this. Thousand Sun Hellbrutes.
Ah, the Hellbrutes, let's go! The Hellbrutes are so cool!
Right. So, all right, okay. You know how like you know the Breaking Bad meme of Hank Schrader? It's like the big smiley face and then there's like the angry face.
Yeah.
Okay, this is based like Chaos Hellbrutes, Thousand Suns Hellbrutes. Hellbrutes are basically just the contorted version of a Chaos Dreadnought. Granted, Chaos factions do often carry old school dreadnoughts, classic Contemptor and Leviathan dreadnoughts and the like. But these are dreadnoughts that have spent a lot of time in the Eye of Terror or something and succumb to change.
Sure.
Some fleshy stuff, you know. If you play Chaos, you have to buy this Hellbrute because they took away all of our other Dreadnought options because Games Workshop is good at deep-throating their own fucking foot. Which is, yeah.
Mel is having a very negative effect on you.
Project Melody, if you're listening to this episode, as we talked about yesterday, put the foot away, all right? Eat real food.
But it's an isosceles. Anyway, go ahead.
Hellbrutes. That's fine. So Hellbrutes. So normally, like obviously on the Imperial side, Hellbrutes are a relic. They're honored. They're important. Everyone loves them. Hellbrutes in the Thousand Sons are hated. The Thousand Sons themselves hate their own Hellbrutes because.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, how exactly does that work with a Thousand Sons becoming dust?
Correct. So. The Hellbrute is, in fact, a implement of eternal torture in the Thousand Sons. Its entire psychic point is to transform the inhabitant into an unquestionable, unquenchable, eternal level of rage and torment.
Oh boy.
They are entirely functional by the genuine hatred of the occupant. And the only thing that might provide them any kind of solace is to murder those that are against the sorcerer commanding them. But, as I'm sure you know, the rubric Marines do not have a body, and therefore cannot necessarily serve in a Hellbrute.
Yeah, so how?
So, because they cannot serve in a Hellbrute, the Thousand Sons will often go out to other Chaos Marine legions and trick other individuals, other psychers, into joining their cabal and promising them to teach them in the ways of psychic power and of various other sorcerer craft. They will then take them through all the rituals that go through the classic case of becoming a sorcerer, but are actually instead teaching them the important early steps to make sure they can connect to a Hellbrute properly. They will then psychically bind the person once they connect the neurons to the Hellbrute, and then cleanse their body with warp flame into a pulped mass of organs, bones, and tissue. Then the sorcerer will tether them to the angry Hellbrute's engines, keeping them conscious the whole time, placing them in a trapped amniotic sac, and inserting them into the Hellbrute. They will then suffer agony without end, only possibly quenchable by murdering the enemies of the sorcerer, but in a very much Angron way. When doing so, they may only feel the tiniest bit of bliss and then go straight back to never-ending agony.
Oh, wow.
When they have finished their battle, they will be removed from the sack and hung in like the basements of the Thousand Sons area, with casted wards on them, with little demons prancing around underneath them, clawing at them to only ever increase their hatred. It is the most like what if we could make it edgier? What if we could create a dreadnought that is entirely based on suffering, and we lure others to become one?
It is the complete polar opposite of an Imperial dreadnought. You could not be more night and day if you tried. Because at first I was like, why the hell would even if a Thousand Son could ride one of those, it's like, why would you? Like, look how mutated it is. That's the whole point of becoming dust, is so that you don't flesh change into something that looks like that. But, that's so messed up. And it's such a Tzeentchian thing to do. It's the perfect... Tzeentch must love it when they make a new Hellbrute, because there's so much scheming, there's so much deception, there's so much hatred, there's so much bullshit. Tzeentch must gobble that shit up like it is just Thanksgiving dinner. Just
Ironically, though, at the same time, it's funny that the Thousand Sons hate it. The Thousand Sons... I actually... You know what? I don't know. Because unending suffering is not... That's not really a Tzeentch thing.
True. I guess once, like, Tzeentch loves the making of it, but I guess after that, yeah, maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because, like, okay, on one hand, the scheming, the getting other people and tricking them, the sorcery part, like, Tzeentch all down for it.
Oh, but yeah, slam dunk.
Never-ending suffering is like, it's kind of stagnant, which is very Nurgly. It's also like
Slaaneshi too.
Yeah, very Slaaneshi too, like unending torture, very Slaaneshi. So I don't think it's like, I don't think Tzeentch maybe is in love with it. I think he's in love with the practice, but maybe not so much in the end result.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, if you need a big dreadnought to fight with you on the battlefield, you get what you can get, you know?
Yeah, and that'll do the trick. That does not look like something I would ever want to fight. You know?
I mean, it says you.
Yeah, well, I mean,
yeah, but like, yeah, as I said before, where they're a little low on the numbers.
True, they need all of the big guns that they can get. That's true, I suppose. Yeah, but they also have those big mutants of Tzeentch. Oh, what are they called? They've got the really cool mini with like the big ring of like warp energy around them or something.
Ah, the Mutalith vortex beast.
Yes! Oh, those are such cool minis.
Yeah.
Yes. Are we talking about them?
I mean, I was about to. Yeah.
Yes.
So the Mutalith vortex beast is wild. It is one of the coolest miniatures I think on the GW has made.
Hell yeah.
It is. I don't even think you could buy the damn thing. Like,
really? You can't buy it anymore?
I don't know, man. It's weird because, like, okay, so Thousand Suns. Right now, yeah, temporarily out of stock. There it is.
Okay. So it's so popular, you just can't find it anywhere because everybody's bought them up.
The Mutalith Vortex Beast is a weird model. Okay, so on one hand, the actual sculpt I think is amazing. It's got the giant tentacle maw. Yeah. It's got the ring of warp energy. Though at the same time, it also has older model syndrome, which is putting a lot of overhanging bits on a too small base. Which is very fair. It's a very Tyranid issue as well. It's very annoying to deal with. But the Mutalith Vortex Beast actually had a huge resurgence in 10th edition because in game, even right now in game, it's pretty good.
Okay, I was gonna say it's just badass. Like, I don't care about the rules. That's just a sick mini.
It's decently pointed. It's pretty tough. It's got a lot of fancy-pantsy damaging abilities. It's pretty good. It's got the warp vortex has like 3 different modes that all like one anti-tank, one anti-elite, one anti-infantry. It's got a big like anti-horde melee attack and an anti-elite melee attack. It also is just very tanky, does a lot of damage. It's good. It's just the thing about the Mutalith Vortex Beast though is that's what the model looks like. Much like Chaos Spawn, it can be whatever the hell you feel like, man.
Since it's a chaos beast, it can be anything you want.
It is just a warped, wild, whatever the goddamn hell, just projection of reality and terror that you want it to be. Normally, it probably has like a vortex and some claws and like a weird tentacle mouth. But outside that, go to town, bro.
Yeah, because it's a warp entity in like real space. So of course it's gonna be just whatever nightmarish creation of tentacles and claws and maws and also I love the way that mini is painted, like with the grays and the purples and then this just huge blast of color on the back. It's just so cool, man.
I only see one Games Workshop official artwork of this miniature. Oh, nope, we got one more. Okay, so the only one I ever saw was this, which is, and the bottom left, those are people, and it's certainly eating them.
That looks like Shumagorath. I don't know if you ever played Marvel vs. Capcom. I know it's not, there's like a legend for Shumagorath, there's some mythology, but I've only known it from Marvel vs. Capcom, but it looks just like Shumagorath.
But there's also, I believe, a Magic the Gathering card art for it, which I believe is this one. So like those are the only 2 artworks that are out there for it. It's a surprisingly underrepresented model, despite how freaking awesome the mini looks.
Yeah. That second one looks kind of like the mini, actually.
A little closer, yeah.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like, yeah, the Mutalith Vortex Beast, it's not a great mini in the sense that its base is too small for all the overhanging bits, and it's got a lot of stuff there. But then it also has the coolest freaking warp portal, maw mix, etc.
So if you just made a big custom base for it, it would be fine, right?
Yeah, but you're not allowed to change bases in Warhammer because the base is where like you measure stuff
from. That sucks then.
Yeah,
I see why you hate it then. Oh.
Yeah,
I didn't
the base
realize
is where you measure.
So yeah, I guess if you put a big base on it, it's like, hey, hooray, but you can't use it.
Yeah, like, okay, for example, like, having a big base is normally pretty good because it lets you, like, especially if you're a character and you like auras and stuff, it can go pretty wide. For example, it's nice when characters have it. Like, here we go. Like High Marshal Hellbrutes, for example. He's got like a big, like 60 millimeter base.
Wow,
which is good.
Bigger than him, yeah.
Right, which is very good because then, like, you measure melee and stuff from the base. And so it's like, I can hit more people because I've got a larger base, and I can, things like that.
It's all about the base. No
Spider-Man.
treble.
Oh,
yeah, that too. Yeah,
that too. I guess that both works.
It's all about that base,
But yeah, the Mutalith Vortex Beast is really damn cool, even though there's really not a whole lot for it. It's just, here's a crazy ass beast of Tzeentch with a warp vortex on it.
Love it. Love it. Especially for me, since I don't play the tabletop. So for me, it's just like, hey, this is win-win.
What's fascinating, the only other fascinating thing about the beast is that the entire process of creating it is very unnatural. But how it becomes built out is interesting. Like, on one hand, sorcerers might create their own vortex beasts with weird spells and things. Sometimes vortex beasts are powerful sorcerers who they think they finally achieved godhood and demon prince, and then Tzeentch just like, hee, and then turns them into this.
Oh, so sometimes the
Tzeentch,
vortex beast is an unwilling sorcerer, and Tzeentch is just having a laugh.
And also, them, like, in the battlefield, they're basically just this reservoir of chaos energy and warp energy. For example, on the tabletop, if you are within 6 inches of one, you can double the range of your psychic casting stuff.
I was about to ask, so they will buff any chaos unit around them if they're just a reservoir of warp. So you want to be around, if you're chaos, you want to be around this thing as much as possible.
While at the same time, they also have the mutating vortex rule, which is if you're around them and an enemy, you just take damage slowly, like you just by crazy warp shenanigans.
Oh man, they sound great.
They're very cool. They're very good right now too, but I know you haven't been able to buy them for God knows how long.
Because they're so good.
because they're so good.
Yeah. I bet you could probably find them on eBay for way too much money.
Yeah, you probably could actually. Yeah. Thousand Suns, I mean, I know that this is my biggest jealousy of the Poor Hammer podcast is their ability to consistently talk about in-game rules and have people understand them. DK. But for the tabletop stuff, just to kind of express a little bit about it in case, like, oh, wow, Adeptus Ridiculous, I really think that the Thousand Suns are really neat. Maybe I want to get into that army. Well, first things first, this is the worst painting you'll ever deal with.
Amen. One of the few armies I painted, I hate it. It's not even just the trim. There's lines everywhere. There's these little strips of yellow everywhere. It's not just the crown. It's not. It's on the chest. There's little itty bitty things between the arm. Go ahead.
No, actually, let's do this before, because I'm about to do some tabletop stuff, but Shai wants to add a quick thing before we get into that, so hit it.
Shai wants to add more lore bits. I don't know, before or after tabletop. From what I can tell, K-Suns are currently too small in number and too disorganized to do much. They mostly split into separate little wizard covens and do their own thing, mostly in pursuit of knowledge and power. Though, Magnus did return back to real space recently when G-Man got resurrected from his sleep and tried to throw his brother into the warp for the memes. Good man. And then tried to ride on Yvrane's warp wave straight to Terra, but G-Man tricked him and opened portal to Luna instead, where poor Magnus got surrounded by Sisters of Silence again and got banished into the warp again. But after that, K-Suns became somewhat more organized, since that put a fire under Magnus's ass, and he got more involved into Legion's operations again.
Nice.
Wow, so he suffered the Sisters of Silence again?
I mean, the Sisters of Silence are pretty good at their job.
I mean, yeah, if you know Magnus is coming, like, you're going to get as many Sisters of Silence as you can, right? Like, that's how you fight him. Otherwise, he's going to tear you apart.
I mean, how do you deal with Psychers? Blanks.
Yeah, true. And if you know the best Psyker in the universe is coming for you, get the one thing they can't stand. Yeah.
That's the way.
This is the way.
Yeah, we'll go with that too. For the tabletop, though, Thousand Suns are they're interesting. They got some neat stuff. Their rule is called Cabal of Sorcerers. And basically, when you run various characters and stuff on the tabletop, they have a rule that's like Cabal of Sorcerers 1 or 2 or 3. And that's how many points you get at the start of each of the, or at the end, I guess the end of your command phase. And then you use those points to spend on various things throughout the game. So, for example, like Ahriman, or like a rubric marine, a regular ass rubric marine will have the aspiring sorcerer that gives you 1 point. The Terminator has the sorcerer that gives you 1 point. A Thousand Suns, like Infernal Master or whatever, like a character gives you 2 points. Ahriman gives you 3 points. Naturally. And Magnus gives you 4 points, obviously. And so you use all these things to give you a bunch of different abilities, like Temporal Surge, 5 points. After shooting, you can then move them again. Or Doom Bolt, big lightning blast, do some damage.
Okay.
Testicular Twist of Fate. That makes it so that the enemy can't use armor saves.
Sorry, what was that?
Twist of Fate.
No. Before the Twist of Fate, I heard Testicular Twist of Fate, did you say?
Doombolt?
No,
So it allows them to use these kinds of abilities on the tabletop to, like, mess with stuff, cause problems. And then, the issue, though, comes down to, and one of the reasons why you really don't run a lot of Tzaangors is that because Tzaangors don't provide you with any Cabal points because there's no Psychers in there. So for the most part, a lot of Thousand Suns lists involve lots of, like, Terminators, Rubrics, Ahriman, and Magnus, which is perfectly fluffy, don't get me wrong. But it also, hamstrings you into a particular build.
Yeah, so you really don't want to bring Tzaangors. It sounds like.
No, they're not.
Like, it's just pointless. Well, I didn't mean that as a joke, but literally they are pointless.
They're a little pointless. And also it's like, why would I bring a tank? Like, I don't need to bring a tank.
You want as many of these, like, sorcerer points as you. Also, is it still? I know, like, at least back when I first got the Thousand Suns, everyone was like, yeah, you get Magnus because he looks cool, but you never play him on the tabletop. He's bad. You should feel bad if you use him in any sort of competitive fashion. Is he still that way, or is he like?
No. Magnus has returned for the most part.
Yeah. Okay. Good,
Magnus hits quite hard. He has very good melee and very good shooting. You can buff him up with all of your shenanigan cabals. I don't know if he's used in the competitive list, but, like, right now, Magnus the Red is not, like, a bad thing to take. Like, if you want to take Magnus in your casual game, and I think also in your competitive game, I think you're pretty fine.
Good. Because it always made me so sad that, like, he's got such a cool mini. And it's like, oh, yeah, he's bad. Don't use him. And it's like, but look at this thing. How are you not going to play? How are you not going to? You spend so much time paying this big-ass expense. You're not going to use him? Come on, brother.
No, he's very fun. He needs some stratagem support. He needs the ability to use some abilities to keep him alive so that no one can just, like, las cannon him to death turn one. Don't get me wrong. But for the most part, he's pretty darn usable, I'd say.
That makes
he's a lot of fun, at least in my experience. Perhaps I've just fought some people who are really good with him. But he shoots really hard. He stabs really hard, which is a rarity because there's not very good melee in Thousand Suns. And it's he's a baller. Ahriman, I think, is actually the must take.
That's what I always heard about Thousand Sons, is you take Ahriman, you don't take Magnus. Now it seems like it's still definitely take Ahriman, but I'm glad to see Magnus got some love.
Me too. Ahriman is good. Don't get me wrong. Ahriman's good. But Magnus it is nice to see the big boy get some love, you know?
Hell yeah. His old mini is so ugly. Holy shit.
Yeah, his old mini is really bad.
Oh my god, what is that?
Do you have the old Mortarion mini, Shy?
Oh boy. And that's the professionally, well, that was back in 1982?
That mini probably came before I was alive.
Me too.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, I doubt it was in the 80s. It may have been in the early 90s.
Okay.
I don't quite remember. It's not important.
Early 90s, I might have been alive.
Yeah, it's also very small.
Oh yeah, because the old ones were really tiny, weren't they?
Yeah, it was a different time, you know.
It was half the size of an Imperial Guard, right?
Yeah. The game has evolved in the last 30 years.
Yeah.
It's been quite the time.
Also, it's canon. In one of the books, he is asked what's his favorite form, and he says the Cyclops one. We do love a good Cyclops boy in this house.
I mean, he's a Cyclops ever since he got his eye removed.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Mortarion. Oh. Yeah, you mean just the Grim Reaper?
I was going to say
the Grim Reaper? You mean just the Grim Reaper?
Literally just a Grim Reaper ripoff completely and totally? Yeah, got it. Cool. It looks like he might have some demon wings, but yeah, he's literally just the Grim Reaper. Yeah. Much better glow up with the way he is now. Mortarion mini, also so good. Well, I guess every Primarch mini is going to be good.
There has not been a Primarch mini that's been bad so far. Even Bobby G's got his use.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and Ultra Depression.
Anyway, Thousand Sons viewers, if you are interested in buying Thousand Sons, maybe buy a pack of rubric Marines only, and just kind of see how that does for you. Just kind of see how it goes, because for the most part, there's a lot of painting to be done there. There's a lot of trim.
I will say, once you get the hang of it, it flows a lot easier, but it's definitely a little bit of a learning curve. But after a while, you kind of get used to it. You kind of learn to brace your hand as you're going in for those itty bitty spaces, and you also learn that hey, if I have him holding his gun in front of him, I don't have to paint his stupid chess pieces. So,
Well, that's also true.
Yeah.
They're a fun faction. The Thousand Sons have a very neat dynamic. They're very different than the average Traitor Marine. Arguably the most different. There's obviously the Death Guard and stuff, and the Noise Marines are pretty crazy, but them being this kind of soulless automaton thing off going in weird Tzeentch flesh change stuff it's a vibe. It's quite the vibe.
Yeah. The Egyptian vibe is also so cool. That's why I picked them as the first faction that I wanted to paint, because they look so different, so unique from just even every other, we said, every other Chaos Space Marine thing. It's so different, and it's gold, and it's Egyptian, and I love it.
Yeah, they're probably the ones that actually, are probably the least insane. Well, it depends on your definition of insane. I'm not quite sure if I can say that the faction of Tzeentch Corrupted is the least insane, but they're certainly I don't know how you say they're a little bit less jabbering, just maniacal chaos people, right?
For being Tzeentch, they are surprisingly normal looking. With Tzeentch, you would expect a lot of eyeballs and tentacles and twirly-durlies and stuff, and they are shockingly normal looking. But with a little flourish.
Except for the fact that they are, dust.
Well, yeah. The specifics do make them very odd, but just on appearances.
They're
just cool Space Marines.
I would agree. They're pretty neat.
Yeah. Hell yeah, brother.
Well, viewers, thank you very much for watching this episode of Thousand Sons. Next week, we are getting Kirioth on for whatever fun ideas he has in mind.
It's gonna be so fun, whatever it is.
Whatever it is, always some of the best episodes. It shall be great stuff. So big thumbs up. Thank you all very much for watching, and we're going to end this episode normally. Have a good one.
What the fuck? Wait, that's it. All right.